that it was. So he, in that moment, catches up from his misride and actually takes the lead very much so by getting another attack in. And then off of that Pellinnor's attack, he hits a crit, gives it to Pellinor, so it deals 2 damage, putting Smith at 4, and then he hits a draw trigger, and both powers went to that rearguard Vivian, making her 19 now. Smith's first damage check was a heal, he gave it to the Vanguard. The second check was not one. She chooses to utilize her 19 against her rearguard, so it was a 10 guard instead of a 5 guard for the Vanguard, which had the other opponent intercepted. So one of the Bowmans died. Then go back to Smith. He rides his Duke. He calls a Destroyer. And then he calls a Vivian. This is, what he does from here is, this is a very crucial moment, because he's fallen very behind due to that Pellinor. And he's got, like, not really, he doesn't have a hand left, because he drops everything. He drops that Vivian, the Destroyer, and he's getting ready to perform his limit break. This is where I kind of disagree with what he chooses to do here. He attacks with his Bowmans first, instead of attacking with his Destroyer. Meaning he's planning to sacrifice the Vivian, the starting Vortimir, and the Bowmans for his limit break. In terms of power relevance, the Destroyer and the Bowmans are about equal, because the 2 power doesn't really matter. And if you're going to sacrifice something, it might as well be a grade 3 which can't intercept, especially when you're in a really bad situation. And Smith ends up doing that, sacrificing his Vivian, the Bowmans, and the starter to keep his Destroyer. That's it. He would have probably been better off not doing that and doing it the other way, where he gets rid of his Destroyer. But yeah, no one's perfect. So Bowman swung first. It attacked the Vanguard. He could have attacked the Vivian since it was an interceptor, but got 5 guard anyway, not a big deal. The Duke attacked for 14. It got 15 guarded with the Vortimir and the 10k shield. Smith drove check a Vortimir grade 2 and a crit. Gave it to the Vanguard. He retired Vortimir, Vivian, Bowman, we stood Duke, swung for 15 again. Henry again, 15 guards it. And then Smith hits a, what does he hit? He hits the draw trigger, that's right. Because it's a Destroyer, and then draws, and the Destroyer swings for 17. Henry lets it hit, since it didn't really matter, he wasn't dying that turn anyway. Then it gets back to Henry's turn. He calls a Vivian to the rearguard, and he attacks with his Vanguard Pellinor first for 15. He could choose to limit break at that moment, but it probably wouldn't be the right call to make, since Smith is only at 4, and the minus of the Pellinor could set you pretty far back. But at this point, Smith has the draw trigger in hand. He has the Vortimir. He has the critical, and off of the draw trigger, he drew a Destroyer. So Smith has a 10 shield and 2 5s in hand, so he has 20 shield. And with him being at 4 damage, no matter what happens in this scenario, if Henry were to hit a critical, Smith would lose either way. But when the Pellinor swings, Smith chooses to 15 guard, which is 2 to pass. If it had been a crit, he would have lost anyways. I guess you could try to say he was worried about the Spring Breeze seeing another Pellinor, but the chances of that are far less than it being the crit. So I probably wouldn't have guarded it. Probably just said, bring it. If you crit me, you crit me. Because the other way, if you crit me, I lose. But he 15 guarded it. Henry's first check was a draw trigger. He gives it to the Vivian that doesn't have a booster yet. That's debatable. By giving it to the Vivian, he's guaranteeing that she gets a chance to attack. He could have also given it to the Nemu, making Nemu harder to hit, and if Nemu hits, he gets to counterblast, call the top card, and it could be a booster for the Vivian, or it could again be a Pelennor. It's debatable. I probably would have gone with since Smith is only at 4, gone with giving it to the Nemu. Yeah. But he gave it to the Vivian, and his second check was a Halo Shield. Next, he attacked with that Vivian for 14 at Destroyer, I believe it was. Let me see, I'm watching the video right now to make sure I'm right. Yeah, he chooses to attack the Destroyer, which Smith obviously lets die, especially since he has one hand. Then he attacks with Nemu, and it hits. Smith checks a heal trigger, and then Henry counterblasts and calls a draw trigger. Had Smith not hit that heal trigger, had it not been a trigger, he attacked with the Nemu first, called that card, and attacked with the Vivian at the Vanguard. Considering Smith 15 guarded the Vanguard attack, he could have won right here and there. So, game could have ended earlier than it did. But then it got back to Smith. He now has his Vortimir and his Destroyer. He calls the Destroyer, he calls the Vortimir, and the card he drew for turn. He takes a little while deciding whether to play it or not. It's a Halo Shield, I believe. Sorry for these pauses. As I said, I'm watching the video, so I'm like, you can kind of watch it with me in sync and see what it is. Yeah, it was a Vortimir, Halo Shield, which he teams up with Vortimir. He has Destroyer attack first for 12. It gets 5 guarded. He attacks with Vortimir next for 15. Gets 10 guarded. He attacks with Duke last for 10, which gets 15 guarded. So it's a, was it 15 guarded? Let me see. Yeah, no, it was just 10 guards, so it was 2 to pass. Smith hit 1 crit, gave it to the Vanguard, restood him, attacked again, and the second attack got perfect guarded, which it was a crit, so. Then it gets back to Henry. Smith sitting on a Duke, a crit, and a crit, so he's not going to be able to block all the attacks. At this moment, he realizes it, and he chooses to look through see if he can heal, which there's no point in really checking, since you have to let it hit anyway. If you get it, you get it. It doesn't matter whether you knew it or not, but it wasn't. And that was the end of game 1. So, that's it for this one. I'm going to, next I get a chance, cover game 2 and then game 3. Thank you for watching.